estimados amigos participantes de este webinar. Es un gusto tenerlos a ustedes como asistentes a esta linda conferencia que ustedes van a escuchar. Probablemente están muchos de ustedes familiarizados con el concepto de Industria 4.0, que es un concepto sobre la automatización completa de los procesos industriales, incluyendo la parte administrativa. Entonces, dentro de ese concepto existen pues muchos elementos que entran en juego, desde los equipos que adquieren la información, los equipos que supervisan la información, y encima de ello están los sistemas administrativos que administran la producción. Entonces, Andon Studio se coloca precisamente en ese nivel, en el cuarto nivel de la pirámide realmente, y es una herramienta muy, muy buena para mejorar los procesos y administración de los procesos productivos. Entonces, hoy día tenemos a nuestro expositor, el señor Charles El Raji. Él es funcionario de FAMIC. FAMIC es la compañía que ha producido Automation Studio, y de esta manera el producto que tiene también es Andon Studio. Entonces, nosotros en Control somos distribuidores oficiales de FAMIC en Perú, de tal manera que somos el contacto directo para cualquier inquietud que ustedes puedan tener respecto a los productos y en general a toda la información que está relacionada con este producto. Entonces yo les voy a dejar ya con Charles El Raji. Ok, y ya yo estaré aquí a disposición eventualmente me necesite. Thank you for waiting, Charles. I have introduced in Spanish the main thing, and I know that you will do well explaining what are the particulars of the Andon Studio. So I will let you start your webinar.
Okay,
Welcome.
Thank you so much for the intro. Okay, so let me just share for 1 second. There. Okay, minimize this. Okay, perfect. Hello everyone, thank you for having me. Like mentioned, my name is Charles. I work in the validation department of FAMIC Technology, and I'm going to present to you Andon Studio today. Just like before we get into the main software, I'm just want to explain where does this software fit within a company and Industry 4.0 in general. So first, this is like the quick introduction. So Andon Studio is a MES type of software. So it's a manufacturing execution system. So it works in tangent with your ERP system. So mainly within your company, when you set your ERP and you set your main objectives, such as your work orders and the amount of products that you want to execute, ERP is mainly concerned with main plans. While on the shop floor, you want to follow what's happening in real time. It's like the execution of said plans, the work orders, where they are at, if they are being delayed, if they're going according to plan, and that you can't find that within an ERP system, because ERP just shows you like the final result, final expected results, as well as the final expected date. So that's where like an MES software such as Andon Studio comes into play. So in our case, the main objective is to enhance communications between your facility, mainly between the machines, like the sensors, for example, the operators of said sensors, who themselves will send data to your ERP system. And within that data, your ERP system can adapt to that information and then send it back to your MES system, which will update your future plans or executions. Like let's say you have a delay, a machine is running down, this sort of information will be sent from the shop floor using an MES system to your ERP system, which then in turn will adapt those plans and send them back to the MES. So like I previously explained, the main objective of Industry 4.0 in our case is to enhance the communications between the shop floor in order to reduce any sort of delay during productions. And this is really helpful for many industries, as well as adding the ability to register all sort of manual actions on the shop floor, which will happen in the future while doing analysis and all that sort of stuff. In our case, Andon Studio is not just aimed for industries, even though it can work within multiple sort of industries. It's also aimed for schools and universities, which they can use in order to set up their scenarios in which they can train students for multiple cases. An example of that, like how the software is aimed for student, is that, let's say, for example, the university doesn't have an ERP system in order to send work orders to the MES. In that case, we added a software called Work Order Editor, in which you can create those work order within Andon in order to be easily train those students in such scenarios or cases. So that was like the small introduction in order just to see where the software fits. Now, before I go into the software itself, I just want to introduce a little bit its architecture because it's not just a one install, it's done kind of thing. You have to install multiple small programs which will communicate with one another. So the main split is between your back end and your front end. So front end is usually where the user interacts with the software, but I'm just going to explain briefly the back end of it. So in the back end, you will have your main software, which is called Andon Core. So this Andon Core is the brain of Andon itself. And through it, the information will pass from your front end to your database, and there it will be analyzed at the core level. Meaning, let's say you have like a delay in your front end, this information will be sent to the core and will be stored. Or let's say at the front end, an operator requested documentation for a specific machine. This request will be sent to the core, which itself will pick up that information and send it back to the front end. So it's a bi-directional communication with the database. Along with the core, you will have the Andon Studio Synchronizer. So Synchronizer's main function is to synchronize with your ERP system. So Synchronizer will get the work orders, the products that are needed, connect with your ERP and send them to Andon Studio, which itself will follow the execution of the said work orders and send the information back to the ERP system. For the time being, the only ERP that we are compatible with is called OFBiz. This is an open source ERP, but currently we are working in research in order to develop compatibility with SAP. So this is coming to the future. You will be able, so since most companies use SAP, you'll be able to synchronize the data from your SAP system to Andon Studio. Besides Synchronizer, we have Andon Studio Notification, which is a third software whose main objective is for alerts, such as, let's say, a machine is down or there's a malfunction. So we send alerts via three ways mainly. First way is visual. So yes, so you have a display screen. You can see the errors on that display screen. Second way is via emails. So you can sync employee emails, select which employees will receive which type of emails during which cases on which machines. Other than that, we also have the mobile application, which will also send push notification in case the personnel that is concerned is not in the facility, they're traveling. They can receive a push notification alerting them of any issues or if any additional action is needed from their end, for example. So usually this backend, the user can either they can set it up on their facility with their own database, but since we found that sometimes that could be complicated for some users, there's another option using the cloud, where you as a client, let's say you want to use Andon Studio, we will set up your own cloud setup with all these softwares. Famic will do this setup on its end, and we will just send you the link in order to use the front end. Uh, sorry, the front end softwares, because these are usually the stuff that the user is concerned with when using Andon Studio. So diving deeper into the front end, our main three are manager, operations, and work order editor. So for managers, this is mainly for people working in the facilities, the administrators and such, where they can set up the facility, the sites, the machines that are involved, the production lines, how everything is distributed, as well as like they would define the personnel that are working in such facility and the different levels of security permissions. And this is initially like there are selected people who are allowed to use the manager, and depending on your facility, you can pick those people. Other than manager, we have Andon Studio Operation. So Andon Studio Operation is mainly for the people working on the level, on the shop floor level. So this is mainly the interface with which they will interact. So operation isn't just so operation will change the views depending on the function of the operator. So let's say you are operating a forklift, you can assign the forklift a specific type of view. Or let's say you work within an assembly line, you can assign them a different type of view. Or let's say you want to have a big display within your facility showing which orders are running, or if there's an error of any sorts. These are done on the level of operations. And the way you select which sort of operation is doing which function is on the manager level. So manager controls which screens are shown on operation, which people see what on operation, which people can do whatever they want on which operation interface. Other than that, we have the mobile application. Like I explained, the mobile application's main purpose is for notification. It will be communicating with Andon notifications. And the work order editor, uh, as I said, the work order editor is a sort of replacement for the ERP system. Let's say you're a student or you're a university and you don't have access to the ERP, or you don't want to set up an extremely complex ERP. You just want to have your work orders and use them in your MES system. In that case, you can use your work order editor. You can define your operations, your work orders, the products, and then Andon Studio will just like receive them and operation, and you can operate it normally from there. I'm sorry, it's not. Okay, so now uh, following this presentation, I'm going to focus more on these two. We're going to start a little bit more with operations because this is the one that's going to be more user-facing, user interface-wise. And then we're going to go a bit with manager, which is there's more steps involved in manager. Unfortunately, we can't go through everything in manager, but just like a brief introduction at least. Okay, so this is the view, like I said, for the operations. So operations can have different types of view. This view is called the operator view. So let's say you're an operator on a machine. You can assign the operator this sort of view. So the view is compromised. I'm going to show you better here. Here. So you have two tabs in your view. You have machines and you have operations. So in the machines tab, you can see your assembly line over here and all the machines that are on this assembly line. Also the state of said machines and how long they are in production. Let's say it's green here, or how long the machine has been stopped. For example, here the machine has been stopped for 2 hours. And within that interface, you can see the production counts for the said machines, the reject, the rework count. And for KPIs, we mainly have the OEE KPI. So you can see the availability, the performance, and the quality of such. So these are by default as a form of KPI so far. So what's more interesting is over here. This is where we have workflows. So workflows are like mini programs. So as you can see back in here in PowerPoint. So workflows are like sort of a transitional logic kind of mini program. The purpose of them is you have like simple workflows that operator can use, which can be repeatable, and they're less prone to errors. And what's mainly important about them, let's say you have like a manual operation, you can track the actions of your operator on said operation because every action is registered in the database. So the logic, as you can see over here, this is where you set up the workflow. This is set up on the manager level. So the thing over here. So here you can create the logic of that workflow and you can assign it to an operator view in operation, for example. So first you will create your logic here. So you have your state, then you have your transition, which is the condition to go from one state to another. And then you can set up the logic in order for the operators to use it. For example, let's do a quick one. Where is it? Yep. So I have, let's say, a taxi workflow. So I'm an operator, I'm logged in, and I can call my taxi, and I can pick the product that I want over here. And then I can order it. I need to restart. I've been logged in for a while. All right. So I call the taxi, select the product, and order it. And then it will be sent to another request in which the taxi operator can confirm it and then send it back to you. So let's say I want to cancel it. I can cancel it from here, and it's done. Is that a quick example? We will go further into details further along the presentation. So this is another main function. You can also call maintenance from it, your supervisor. You can fill forms from it as well if you want over here. And these forms are set up as explained in Manager. So all the logic are done in Manager, so the operator himself or themselves doesn't have to worry about it. They just have to use it. I need to fill all of it. We'll do it later. And continue it. Okay. After operation, like I mentioned, we have the mobile application. Let's say, for example, you have an issue, you can send a request. This request can either be received via SMS messages. If you want, you can assign that, or via an email. So let's say you have a support request, you receive an email, you can accept it, refuse it. Same thing with the mobile application, and you can set up which functions are associated to which type of alert. So in some cases, you just want an alert, you don't want an action from it. In some cases, you want to give them the option to either accept it or say they're busy. Another interesting thing when it comes to notification, we can do like an escalation feature. So let's say there's an error, and then you send your first email. It waits 30 seconds, let's say, to be accepted. If it's not accepted, it sends it to a higher level individual. So let's say you start with like a supervisor. If he doesn't respond, it goes up to manager, etc. Okay. Uh, besides the communication, we can add documentation to your machines. Let's say you have an issue, you call maintenance, they receive a notification, they come over to the machine, and they want to see what are the associated documentation. I want to see if I have some already selected here. No, I haven't assigned. So usually the way it works is like you select the document and it calls the database and retrieves said document from it. It's not only limited to text, you can have videos, URLs, etc. Okay. Moving forward, we have the views and operations. So mainly the view that we saw here is the operator view. You can have different view. This is like a main view you can put on the big display of your facility, like a big screen, where you can see the states. So here you have a machine in production. You have the medium range OEE. So like you can set which period the OEE is taken into consideration. So it's taking the last couple of days, the last couple of weeks, etc. And here you can see the workflows that I mentioned. So let's say I call a taxi here. I can see, oh, okay, there's been a call for the set taxi. It has been 6 minutes for it. They haven't responded yet. So this is like a general overview. Besides that, we have the dashboard here where you can show the different variables, different workflows, etc. Now, currently we're working on updating said dashboards, so it's going to be more interesting in the upcoming versions. Still in version 4, but like a sort of update to the version 4. This is more for the state of the machine. So you can see, for example, machine 1, during which period it was in production. which product it was producing at set period, how many product it has made. When the machine has stops, for example, here you can know it's an external stop or it's an internal one. There are different types of stop reasons for a machine. We'll go through them further later. And this is like a difference view. Also, this is mainly for big screen. You can see which calls have been made, what is happening, how long the call has been made for which workflow. Okay. Moving forward, we're going to go a more interesting aspect, which is the alerts of the machine. So for the stop reasons of the machine. So currently there are two ways to set up a stop reason. Either it could be a manual one. So let's say you're an operator and there's like an issue with your machine. So say I'm here, for example. So now my machine is stopped. I'm an operator. So I don't know what's happening. It's an unknown issue. I can go here on the pen and I can select. So you'll pre-assign different types of stop reasons to the machine and manager, and the operator can select from them over here. So I just selected the type of error that's happening. Also, you can have so machine overheating, and I can. So I can also like as an operator, I can set up the machine. Now this is really important when it comes to hierarchy of information. So usually in old system, if there's an error, you have to wait for it to go upstream, let's say to the ERP, the manager, then they analyze it and then they send the error. Using softwares like Andon Studio, like you can set the data info on the shop floor itself, like the operator is more in control of it. Uh, Besides the manual selection of the error, sorry, we have automated errors. So inside Andon Manager, for each machine, you can predefine the different types of errors that you're expecting, and you can assign them their own code. And let's say your automate already has its own code set up. So what you can do also in Manager is do like an association. For here, they're one-to-one. But let's say example for emergency stop, your code for your machine is 50, so you can associate with the internal code of Andon, let's say 1. This is also useful for automatic error proning and also using like OPC connections and stuff like that. Um, So like I mentioned, this comes back to the message sending. Like I said, there are this is the application screenshot. So you can either have like a general notifications over here where it just alerts you that there's an issue, or you can have notification which you have to do an action yourself, or you have to accept it or decline it. For example, like here. Other than that, this is like a technical call, and you can make your own different set of workflows. Okay, and moving from the operator as the operator aspect of it is another interesting part, which is the data itself. So like I said, every manual action, every request, every demand is stored in the database itself, and this data can be recuperated at any time. And mainly you can use another feature of Andon, which is the reporting tool, in which we have predefined templates for certain reports, in which they themselves can grab this data and generate to reports such as this one. You can do different analysis in the future. Let's say you have a machine that's stopping more frequently, you can catch it over here. Maybe the machine needs a replacement, maybe it's being badly operated, maybe it needs more regular maintenance. It depends, but it will really help you. It's like another tool in your tool set you can use. A new feature that we added in the version 4, just one second, is the ability to track the work orders. So this sort of view can be located either in Manager or in Operation. So for just to decompose it, so you can see your work order over here. The red bar indicates that it has been delayed. This indicates what's the current time, for example. And you can see what is the end product, the name of the work order, how many products are due for said work order. And for each work order, you can see the different operations within it. So you can see which machine was used for this work order. So here you can see it was in a production state. You can see its OEE. And here it was stopped. We haven't started your operation yet. And you can also see the different operators that have been using this machine. For example, here the operator's name is FAMIC. You can have multiple operators and you can track which individual was using which machine at which particular time. For example, you can see here the color red, blue. These are different types of stop reasons. So the machine was stopped over here. So it can be an internal stop, an external one as well. Upstream, downstream stop also. And within each operation, you can see the amount of parts that were accepted, reworked, rejected, and how many are due for it. So this is really useful to track things on time and see what's happening. And this is one of the main strengths of an MES system, is to be able to see in real time how close you are to your end objective if there are delays, and to react quickly to any issues or errors that are coming up. Okay. Now that we're done with the sort of introduction to the software part, we can go deeper into the our example. So usually the workflow that I go to when setting up Andon is I start with manager. I set up the variables first, then I set up my site, the production line, workflows if needed, and then I go to operations. So as I said over here, so first, usually you start working in Manager, where you set up the size, the variable, all that stuff, and then you can go with operation. But I find it's way easier for people if we start with operation and work our way back over here. So I'm gonna show you a little bit. So this is operation, for example. And like I said, we have, let's say I have this sort of workflow. I've assigned it to this machine, and this workflow allows me to set up the state of my machine. So say I have an issue, I want to go in production, for example. Now it's in production, and I can select my workflow, I can stop the machine. Now it's in an unknown state, and I can pick the reason, and it will change the state as well. So I can bring it back into production. So for our example, what we're gonna do is we're gonna add a new machine over here, and we're gonna go through it step by step. But as I said, we're gonna go in reverse in order to make it more accessible. So let's say I go to manager right here. So this is the manager interface. So previously I was in the Andon operation interface. So a quick intro to so here we have our sites. And this is the site in which we're working in. So the structure that we use, I'm gonna one sec here. So the structure for site is you have your site, region, province, and country. So you start with your country. Within that, you have your different levels within it. So in our example here, sorry. So as I showed you, you have your country. Then you define the different provinces. And then within each province, you have your region, and then you have the site. And within a site, you can have your multiple assembly lines and multiple productions and all that stuff. So here, the reason that this one is red is mainly because of a feature called calculations. So if this is deactivated, it will be red. You can't use that site until you activate that feature. So mainly our environment, our site, sorry, is going to be in 25th South Service Road, St. Mary. Let's say I want to assign it here. So in this section, you can put your address, the name, the time zone of your site, and you can assign to each site its own schedule, which we will define later. I'll show you how to define it. And the personnel that are on it, also helpful for scheduling reasons. So just like a quick talk regarding the permissions a little bit, because like this is really concerning for companies when they come to their security. So here you can assign the different types of users. Say this is my user. I can put my email. I can say to which site it's assigned. Uh, I can give it like GDA access, which is so a user with a GDA access can create other users, for example. I can select if I want said user to receive emails, messages, and to each user I can select a security profile. For example, here I gave it administrator profile, but these permissions, you can see them here. They can be you can create your own profiles, and within each profile you can select which permissions said profile can have. Like if it can open operations, what can't modify, what can't it modify, for example. So usually you start by setting up your users, and then you create your country, and then within the country you have your provinces over here, and then within each province you have, for example, the region. And then you can finally go to the site itself. So if we go here inside the site, you will see this hierarchy. You have machines, production lines, and display zones and schedules. So how does that usually work? So if we go back to our presentation. So this is the leveling. So first you start with your machines. So these are the machines that are available in the entire site. These are what I have to work with, for example. And then you have your production line, and within each production line, you can pick machines to assign to it. And within each production line, when this association it's done, this machine will be called a line machine. So let's say I have a yogurt production line. I have a machine that fills the yogurt, a machine that labels things, and a machine that boxes things or whatever. So their general function would be just machines. And let's say I want a production line for vanilla yogurt, and I would select a filling machine. I would assign it to the vanilla production line, and then I would have a vanilla filling machine, for example. And for each machine, I can assign its desired product. It could be an input product or an output product for said machine. So if I go back over here, so these are all the machines that I have. I have like a labeler, a carton labeler, a filler, and a sealer, for example. I can select if a machine is in batch production, which is useful in this case, since if you're making like a yogurt production line, or individual piece if you're working, for example, with a CNC machine. And here you can set if you want the count for the production to be a manual count, as in the operator themselves can increment the count, or is it going to be automated depending on a sensor or an OPC connection. And after having your machine, you can move here to your production line. So here I have the yogurt production line, and in it I have the line machine that I showed over here. So going back to manager. So as I previously said, the objective is to add a new machine, right? So let's say I want to add a machine. See here, I have nothing. I have no machines, no equipment type. Because here, I've used all those machines for my production line. So what I need to do is I need to add a new machine to my site. So let's say I go here. Let's say I call it machine 1. Sorry, you can't have spaces in the code. And here, machine 1, machine 1. And I'm gonna select the type, let's keep it generic type, and we'll save it. So now I've added this machine to my pool of machines, but I want to associate it to this specific production line. So I go to line machines and I click add, and I go here. I want type generic, and there it is, machine 1. And then we save and machine 1 is saved. And here I can set its speed. So I've set it as the same speed of the production line. It could be a specific one. Here I have the efficiency, which is important when it comes to work orders, because when you start a work order, it's gonna estimate the end time, and it does that using the speed of the machine and the efficiency value to know how much time it's going to take for you to finish. Like depending on the total number of products due for said operation. So knowing the speed and the efficiency, it give you like a time estimate. And here we have the, like I mentioned in the slide, the error codes for my machine. So these are the internal codes on the Andon level. And here you can select, let's say my automate on the production line has a code of 50. I can say, hey, if you receive a code of 50, that's equivalent of code 0. And you've already, I will show you later how you can define what is the significant of, let's say, code 0, code 999. So here code 0 is production. For example, let's say I want to catch all is like a random error. I don't know which error it is. It will automatically throw it to catch all. Okay, so this is saved. So now I have my machine. So you can see the machine is within the line machine, which are within the machines themselves. And within my machine, I can go to products and I can select which product I want to produce. So let's say I want to produce a steel sheet. I want it as an no, it can't be an output product. It's an input product makes more sense. Uh, Save it. Say I want to say fermented milk. This is an output product. Here I can select the speed. Here I can select which workflows it can show up. So let's say I select taxi workflow. So when a operator goes here and clicks calls taxi, this item will show up over here. That's the main purpose of this selection. And you have your different options depending on your needs over here. So I saved it. And then we can go to the display zone. So like I said earlier on, the difference between, sorry, close all. The difference between the different types of front end as far as manager and operation. I said that in manager, you can select which view to associate to which operator. And this is done at the display zones level. So here I have the list of display zones that are available. Currently, I have an operator one that's already been set up. So I say, okay, I have my operator view. Who do I want to see this view? So here you have the list of the screens. So this is the name of my monitor, for example, my computer's name. And here I have which machines I want to show in my assembly line. So I have machine 1 that hasn't been associated yet. So I just throw it to the selected field and I save. So and give it some moment. And then here I can see I have my machine 1. But what you will notice in your production line that all of them have workflows except machine 1. So how can I associate my workflow to this machine? So this is also done in Manager in this section called workflows. So let's say I go here. So in workflows, you can see the different machines of your assembly line. So I'm interested in machine 1, for example. And for machine 1, I can see what are the available workflows. So these workflows are created in the workflow manager over here. So once you create a workflow manager and you deploy it, it will pop up over here. And you can say, okay, I want machine 1 to have a taxi workflow. And I can save that. Takes a couple of seconds. So usually it takes a couple of seconds to show up here, but that's usually so after assigning the workflow, I can see it in machine 1, and I can do a taxi call. I can order it. So this is the general use of it. What's left is the schedule. So usually this is the schedule that I'm using now. So here I can set these are mainly for the OEE calculation. For the medium and long horizon. So I go for medium, I want to do the OE for 1 day. Long, I want to do it for a week, for example. And side note for the OEE calculation when it comes to availability. So it doesn't do it based on the schedule. It does it based on the state of the machine. So whenever the machine is within a stop, it's stopped, and due an external reason, it won't count it as unavailability. It's within the availability range, so to speak. So it won't affect negatively your OE. So let's say you shut your machine off on purpose, the shift has ended, you shut it off. That will be an external stop reason, and it won't affect negatively your OEE. And here you can set your schedule. And here, most importantly, you can set which individual can receive notifications, like for the mobile application, for the emails and all that stuff. You can see, okay, I want this person either to receive notifications at all time, or I can specify within their work schedule when do I want them to receive this set notification. So going back here. So this is our quick introduction uh to the machine side of things. So far, sorry. Uh, so far we've seen operation, we've seen the workflows, we've seen the production line, we've seen the sites. Now we go to global, which is where you define your variables. So as I said, usually when you're working in Manager, you start by defining your variables, then the sites, then the production lines. But for this example, we're going in the opposite direction. So going back to Manager, I'm just going to close all this, and I'm going to go to global. So global is where we define all our variables. Now, what are the main, so since we can't go through everything today, we're gonna focus mainly on creating the equipment type variable. So what is the equipment type variable? So we've already seen it here in sites when I was creating a new machine. If you remember when I added this, you see this variable over here, equipment type. So in order to be able to start uh, creating our machines and sites, first must define the equipment type. So what do I need to define an equipment type? Okay. In order to be able to define it, you first need an equipment function, then a run stop reason, then you need to define a product. So we'll go through them one step at a time. Where is it? Okay. So going to global. So first we start with equipment function. So for example, here we have a cutting function, a filling function. Let's say we have, let's do filling two. Example, filling two. That's actually just for this example. So let's say I want to create a filling machine. I can start by creating this function. So going back here, I can have created the function of my machine. So uh, multiple machines can have a similar function. That's why you start with the functionality of it. What is the purpose of my machine before I go what type of machine I'm working with? So let's say you have a filling machine. It could be a yogurt filling machine. It can be a milk filling machine. It can be different types of types. So after defining my function, I go to my stop reason, for example. And here I can define the stop reasons within Andon itself. So let's say I want of I'll say short circuit maybe. Um, and here I can define what type of stop reason it is. So if you remember when we were seeing the bar with the different states, let's see, where is it? Not here, for example, here. If you remember these colors for the different stops when the machine is stop, so you can select those here when creating the stop reason itself. Because like if it's a downstream, upstream issue, an internal stop, external stop, depending on your machine itself, and you can add an image. So these are internal images that are default to Andon, or you can browse your own computer to select an image if you like. I have my short circuit machine. So far, going back, we set the equipment function. We set the one stop reason. So now, let's say I want to create the product itself. So if I go back to manager here and go to product, uh, say I want a uh, milk bottle. And here I can select if I want this sort of product to be available to my work order editor when I'm creating my work order. And here, what's more important are the equipment types. So since I haven't created an equipment type, I'm gonna leave it as generic for the time being. I'm gonna save it. Okay, so I need to put a different code. Sorry about that. Put it at 2010. Okay, my product code. So now that I'm done with all of these, I can go to my create my equipment type. Go here. Okay, like no filling, milk filler. And here I can see the function that I have created previously, filling. And here I can see the one-stop reasons. So we said short circuit. Uh, and here I can set the priority. So the priority is, let's say you have multiple errors at the same time, and since you can only display one error at a time, you can prioritize which one to display first. So priority of one, that's the highest priority of them. Two, you can go down as much as you want, depending on how many errors you have. So I've selected the equipment type. I can go back to my product. And what was it? Milk bottle. So now I have milk filler here that I just created. And it's saved. Bingo. So now, uh, oh, sorry. Okay. So now since we went this way, we can do it quickly. So now we have defined the variables of the machines and all that sort of stuff. Let's say I want to add it to my production line. I'm going to show you quickly. So usually that's how we do things. First, you would create the equipment type, knowing its function, the products, and the stop reason. After doing that, you can go to your site and then add it to the machines of that site. So now it should show up over here. After creating the equipment type, you can associate to the production line. After doing that, you can do your line machines. And after the line machines, you can associate to the sites and all that stuff. So this is like a quick intro to the manager aspect of things. Now we can do the work order editor. Just do a quick introduction. Okay. First, okay, let's see how it works here. Also, I have this, for example. So here I have my this tab, in the operator view, you can see all the available work orders. So these work orders can either be imported from your ERP system, or they can be added manually using the work order editor. And let's say I have this one. Here I can say the main work order, and I can see the different operations in it. So if I remember correctly, they all have the same name. So work order, yogurt, vanilla, for example, it has all these different operations. So by switching between them, you can see the operation tab is changing. And within each work order, I can see the end product, how many is due, how much was my initial end time estimate for it, and what is the calculated estimate for the time being. So let's say I want to start this operation. So the thing is, the machine is currently stopped. So say we have our filler machine. So here we can see the estimated calculated time for the machine. Like I said, it does that given, so you have your setup time and you have your calculated time. And the calculated time is based on the speed of the machine and the efficiency of it. So let's say now, see, I don't know if you can see the clock. Okay, so now it's 6:51, and it's saying the end time, that's the initial estimated end time is at 7:25. So in your work order, it can predict when it will end based on the info. And let's say I start it. So first I can, so now it's red because we're a bit late in its production. It has been set for for April. Now we're a bit late. So first we finish our setup operation. We're here, you can drag and drop it. And then you can go to in production. So this is the main production of our work order. So here you can see the state of the machine is red, but we can always put it in production. So I'm using OPC to change the state of the machine. So let's say my machine is in production. I can see how many parts were accepted, redone, rejected, and how many are due. And here I can see the estimated end time, which is changing in real time, depending on how many products are being accepted. So it can see here the accepted product, and it can tell you, okay, so you're moving according to schedule, or you're being late on it, or you're on time. This is the crucial part of having your MES system, is the real-time information that it's giving you, because for a work order, it's only concerned with the end products and the end date. You don't know how the production itself is changing in real time. That's where it comes to play. And we also have features within the workflows. So it's not just manual button pressing. You can have workflows within your operation. And we have one specifically for timing. So let's say you can set up a workflow that launches like an email message if an operation is late by, let's say, 20 minutes, or you can say if it's late by 50% of its initial duration. So it automatically sends you an email if such an error has happened. So let's say I'm an operator, I'm done with this. It's completed, and then I can confirm that it's been completed. So this is how the operations tab, and here I can see the check mark indicating that it has been completed and which user has done the action. So going back to the work order editor here. So like I said, this is the name of my work order. And within it, I can see the different operations that have been set. All right. So let's say I want to add a new operation. What were the names? I'm sorry about that. Was till 40. Sorry. So I call this like OP 50. Here I can select if the output product is the same as the work order product, or if you have intermediary product, you can select them over here. How much of that I want to produce. So since it's the same as the output product, it will be grayed out. But if I select like a generic output, I can modify the value here. And I can select if it's a batch production or individual piece production. So in our case, it's going to be batch. Here I can select the operation types. I don't know if I have time to go way into details into these. So mainly there are workflows to how the operation itself it's gonna function within your operations tab. But usually I keep it as generic. It works fine so far. But if you have your own specific needs, you can always modify the operation workflow. And here you can set the duration. So I want it to be for 20 minutes. I want this to be for 1 minute. And prerequisite means, let's say you want, I don't want operation 2 to start unless operation 1 has been completed. And this is where prerequisite come into play. As so, let's say if in case you have a prerequisite, this start button won't be accessible unless the prerequisite operation has been completed. So you can select that over here. You can select which machines is associated to your operation. And all this is done over here. So I'm gonna keep it as is, looks good. I'll save it. Okay, I think because it's still running now, because the work order is running, I can't modify it at the time. But this is how it will operate usually. See if I can stop it. I should be able to save it. I don't know. Ah, forgot. Okay. After that, we can discuss briefly OPC connections, since we still have some time. For the OPC connection, I'm gonna do like a brief introduction to it because okay. So the setup, you go to variable manager. First, you must create your service, and this service must be associated. I'm gonna go back to the chart over here. So if you guys remember, we mentioned the OPC client over here. So the way it works is that you have the service identifier. So once you create your service over here, this service identifier should be associated to the machine where the OPC client itself is installed. That way, the core can locate the client itself in order to gather the information from it. So you create a service. To each service, you can create the server. So in our case, I'm using Automation Studio as my server. So it's the one sending the information and the data. So here it has located it. This is the name of the server itself. And within each server, you can create multiple groups depending on your needs. So let's say you have 3 machines, you can send them within that group. And here is the important part, which is the linking part. So first step, in order to use your OPC, you have to select the site in which you are working. After selecting the site, so you can select the machines within that site. I want to select line machines, and I want to go to which says working sometimes. It's been a bit annoying. So usually after doing the selection here, you can be able to see all the variables associated to this machine. And after doing that, you can associate to the variables and Automation Studio. I'm just going to show it over here. So, and in Automation Studio, I have this set up This is like a basic functionality of Automation Studio. So usually when working with Andon, for each machine, you have five main variables, which are the state of the machine, which is a binary variable called the stop condition. So either the machine is on or off. You have your stop reason, which is the error code of when the machine has stopped. And then you have your production count. Actually, we can see them over here. So let's say in my software, I've created the stop variable, which is a binary variable, created the stop reason, the production count, how many parts I've been producing, the reject count, how many parts have been rejected, the rework count, how many have been reworked as well, as the name suggests, and the product code, which is the sorry, the code of the product as defined when I created in global. So and then after doing the associations, let me open the window 1 second. Okay, here. Mm, it's, machines. Okay. So here, after linking the variables, that's opened. So after selecting the machines and all that, I've already did the association previously, but here on this tab, you will have the variables, the internal variables of Andon, so the stop condition, the stop reasons, and all that. And on this side, you will have the Automation Studio variable or whatever OPC server you are using. Here you can see its variable. And for example, I've already connected the stop reason variable to my OPC stop reason variable, and here I can see its value. So let's say I'm going to do a test. So now my machine is on. Set off a bit. After turning it off, so stop condition is on means that the machine has stopped. And when the machine has stopped, I've automatically set the sequence to generate an error code. So we can see over here in operation. So the machine has stopped currently. And after I start, for example, here it will automatically switch to production and the associated value to it will have changed as well. So here stop condition is off, the stop reason is 0 because that's how the sequence has been programmed. So just another info I want to mention regarding the how variables work in Andon. So you have two types of variables. So you either have your variable category or your machine variable. So variable category, whatever you could be like a bit, register, or text. So any variable you create in these sections will show up for every machine. So these ones are grayed out because they're default variables. But so let's say you have 10 machines, you create a variable over here, it will show up for each one of those. But let's say you want to create a specific one for said machine. So let's say you can select it here and you can go to variables over here. And here you can create the specific variable for said machines and you can display this variable, it will show up in this tab over here. Now I have nothing associated, that's why it's empty. Okay, so this is my brief intro for Manager. I want to leave some time for questions later. I'm gonna go back to the main presentation. Sorry. Yes, this is the main that I mentioned previously regarding for educational purposes. You have your ERP system that can be replaced by the work order editor, but we're mainly what I want to mention is the cloud service. So currently FAMIC is offering that service in order to ease up installation processes, because usually users sometimes it's a long process in order to set it up because you need IT help and all that. So some users find it way easier if we take care of that end of the aspect of things, and we can just send them the links in order to use the client-facing software of it. So this is what I have so far. So we can take some questions and see if we can, if I have more time, we can delve into other details as well.
Aló, buenas tardes, ¿me escucha?
Sí,
Buenas tardes con todos los presentes. Excelente webinar referente a este tema muy importante, la industria 4.0. Me habla
excellent
Víctor Picone.
webinar right now.
¿Y me escucha? Sí,
Sí, lo
correcto.
estamos escuchando. Estoy tratando de traducir para el
Ah,
expositor.
perfecto, perfecto. Ya. La pregunta es la siguiente. ¿Cómo es la conexión entre el software y en este caso el hardware, que sería los sensores que están en la línea de producción? Supuestamente está automatizada a través de PLCs y sensores que están automatizando diferentes componentes en la misma línea de producción.
Okay, I will translate. Charles, the question is how is made the connection between the hardware and the software, provided that you have a line that's automated using PLCs or some equipment or sensors or intelligent systems. How is the connections between both of them online?
Yes, so usually the main means of connection is via OPC. So let's say your PLC is connected to a server machine that has like an OPC access to it. Then yeah, so usually if I go back here in OPC UA and OPC server, let's say I want to add a new service. So there are two ways to do the communication. Either you can do it local. So when selecting local is searching for your OPC client, which you set it up using the ID of the service. But let's say you're using a PLC system that has its own server setup. In that case, you can use remote and you can set up the IP address of that server in that case. So the main communication process is OPC. You can either go via the route of an OPC client, which is the software provided, which is a different types of software provided with Andon Studio. Or you can, if you have your own server set up with your own PLC setup, you can just put the IP address over here and locate it via Andon. And side note, the communication is bi-directional with the service, but usually in the case of an MES system, it's mostly to collect data, so it's mainly concerned with sensors and less with actuators themselves. You can connect it to an actuator, but it's mainly concerned with sensors. If that has answered your question.
Ok, un pequeño resumen. La comunicación típicamente entre los PLCs y el software es a través de OPC, es OLE para control de procesos. En realidad es un estándar industrial de comunicaciones para hacer más factible la comunicación entre diferentes marcas de equipos. El OPC se puede utilizar tanto en modo local o en modo remoto. En modo remoto, en el caso de que el controlador tenga su propio servidor, o sea, hay un servidor de OPC, en consecuencia el software puede acceder. Caso contrario, usa el modo local para el cual tiene su propio software, el Andon. ¿Alguna otra pregunta?
Sí, según la respuesta, entonces requiere solamente el PC Service para poder trabajar. Pero digamos, si los PLC son Siemens, eh, ¿qué, digamos, dificultades habría en la configuración para poder tener la conexión directamente a este tipo de PLC o en todo caso se requiere una determinada marca de PLC?
Eh, bueno, yo puedo contestar parte de la pregunta porque Siemens sí tiene las posibilidades de OPC. Y OPC es un estándar de comunicación que está implementado prácticamente en todas las marcas importantes de PLCs. Charles, the question was that in the case of connecting Siemens PLCs, what are the options?
Of the time being, I don't know specifically for Siemens. I can't answer that now. But I think it should work like a regular PLC setup. I can't give you any specificity for Siemens themselves, but we can look into it further inquiries if he's mainly interested in that. But for the time being, as far as I'm concerned, if it works like a regular PLC setup, uh, I think it should have its own server communication, depending on theirs how they have set it up themselves, and you can locate it easily using its IP address. So I don't think there's like any specific hurdles when it comes to Siemens. It should work like any other PLC setup.
Well, thank you, Charles. I have answered partially before I
Okay,
asked you. Okay.
thank you.
Una pregunta quiero hacer referente a lo que es el mantenimiento preventivo. Yo me dedico a esta actividad actualmente y dígame, ¿este sistema, este software me puede ser útil para hacer trabajos de mantenimiento preventivo en una planta?
Preventivo, predictivo.
Preventivo, preventivo.
Predictivo. Okay. The question is that if the user actually works with maintenance, and he's asking if he could do preventive maintenance using Andon.
As far as like predicting if there's an upcoming error, if that what he meant. Currently it doesn't have any predictive features to it. But what they can do is that since it's collecting data usually, and you can know like a pattern of errors, you can analyze the data in the future and see if a pattern is occurring for certain type of maintenance. But at the time being, there isn't any built-in feature to predict any future errors, if that was the question. It's mainly concerned in case of an error, how quickly it can notify the people that are involved with such error, either via the messages, email setup, or visually on the shop floor via the change of colors and all that setup.
Ok, la respuesta es que el Andon no tiene específicamente implementado como parte de su núcleo de software mantenimiento predictivo. Sin embargo, como es un sistema de colección de datos, se tiene toda la información necesaria para llevar esa información para hacer mantenimiento predictivo y existen múltiples medios para transmitir la información de lo que va ocurriendo con cada uno de los equipos.
Agradecido por la respuesta.
Well, thank you for your answer.
You're welcome.
Okay, muchas gracias. It seems that there's no more questions, Charles. So we are grateful for your presentation. It was a
Thank
nice
you.
presentation,
Thank you for having us.
and we will be doing business with Anton here, and we'll be in touch. We appreciate
Thank
your
you so much.
participation in this.
Thank you for your time.
Okay. Okay, just for Charles, She said that next week will be available the video, and it will be with the Spanish titles underneath.
Okay. Thank you so much.
Okay. Thank you for all. Y bueno, esto ya sería todo por hoy, estimados amigos.
Have a good weekend.
Okay, bye.
Bye-bye.